In a previous interview, you talked about struggling throughout the season. So what changed and how are you able to turn the page so that the end of the season went a lot better?
Lexie Hull looked like she was about to vanish from the WNBA conversation entirely when the 2024 season tipped off. Remember, this was a 6th overall pick in 2022, a player who once lifted trophies at Stanford and carried herself like a future cornerstone. Yet under former coach Christie Sides, she was collecting splinters instead of minutes, relegated to the end of the bench while role players leapfrogged her in the rotation. Fans began whispering, was Hull ever going to fulfill her promise, or was she destined to be another draft bust gathering dust?
So you have basketball in your genes. Your grandfather played basketball, your dad, and you have a twin sister who you played basketball with growing up. What was it like growing up in that family dynamic?
Well, we have a super competitive family, and having my dad play basketball collegiately, knew that basketball was going to be put in my hands at an early age. But my parents were, super excited about having us try every sport imaginable. So yeah, we grew up, my sister and I, playing a little bit of everything.
And then came the earthquake. Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation talent whose arrival didn't just adjust the Fever's lineup, it rewrote the entire identity of the franchise. Her game was electricity and sneakers, and she didn't just score, she pulled gravity. The second Clark walked into Indiana, the offense had purpose, the chemistry had fire, and every player's trajectory suddenly shifted. For Lexie Hull, this wasn't just a teammate joining the roster, it was a lifeline. Show your support for Lexie down in the comments below by commenting Lexie Show. Let's go.
I think it was important to get to know her off the court because I do think that, connections, getting to know people really play a part in the success of teams.
Hull recently opened up in interviews with She's for Sports and the Dunker Spot, and she did not mince words. She peeled back the curtain on what actually changed in that locker room, how Clark's presence flipped her career arc, and what it says about the Fever's transformation from a stumbling mess to one of the most compelling stories in basketball. This isn't just about one player's revival. It's about redemption, leadership, and a culture shift that could define the future of the Indiana Fever.
She's been called the clutch player by WNBA fans, and she was drafted to the W in 2022 with the Indiana Fever in the first round as the 6th pick. I'm talking about professional basketball player Lexie Hull.
The early months of 2024 were brutal for Hull. For all her college accolades and draft pedigree, she couldn't even crack the regular rotation. Katie Lou Samuelson, Christy Wallace, players with half her ceiling, were eating her minutes while Hull sat with a towel draped across her shoulders.
At the beginning of the season, my playing time definitely looked different than it did at the end. So trusting that, I was staying ready, putting in the work so that when I did get the minutes out on the court, that I could take full advantage of them. So I was just really proud of myself for trusting the process and staying the course.
That sting was real. From star at Stanford to bench warmer in Indiana, the drop-off was a mental hurdle as steep as any physical challenge.
The basketball part of the transition is really tough. Everybody out on the court was one of the best players on their college teams, definitely the best player likely from their high school team. So it's just this mishmash of the best basketball players, and then you're playing against people that have been there for years and years.
Meanwhile, the team itself was spiraling. The Fever stumbled to a 1-8 record out of the gate, a start so depressing it had fans in Indianapolis begging for answers. And those answers weren't coming.
We were just sick that we had lost so many games, and also feeling like we were better than that.
Headlines were filled with sharp criticisms, poor rotations, leaky defense, zero chemistry. Everyone in the locker room felt the pressure, and Hull, stuck on the sideline, had to fight her own doubts while the entire ship looked like it was sinking.
Part of my role is just getting to the open spots, and we have such a good offense that people find the open person. So to be that open person, you get excited. You get excited for the opportunity to shoot and score and be part of the momentum.
But Hull refused to let the narrative close in on her. She doubled down on the grind, sharpening her cutting, ironing out her jumper, and staying ready for whatever scraps of opportunity she could grab. And through it all, she leaned on the encouragement of her teammates, players who still believed in her potential, even when the stat sheets didn't. That belief became fuel.
What is it like playing off of Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston?
I mean, they make my job really easy, right? It's awesome. And it's really cool to see all of them just grow, not only from this year, but playing 3 years with Kelsey, 2 years with Aaliyah. They're so impressive.
Then Clark arrived, and everything changed. The moment Caitlin stepped into that locker room, it was as if the lights came back on. Practices had juice again, fans were flooding arenas, and suddenly Indiana wasn't a punchline. It was the hottest ticket in the league. Clark brought that edge, that relentless drive to compete, and she made sure everyone else matched it.
And I think it's really fun because they garner so much attention, obviously, from the other team's defense. So then it allows the other players, me included, to make cuts, make reads, and they're really good at finding, those openings and giving the ball up when it's needed and finding the better shot. So it's really fun, and I feel really lucky to get to play with them.
As Hull herself put it with a laugh, "We play against guys in practice, and if they're not winning, Caitlin's going to do everything she can to make sure they're competing." That's not just energy, that's transformation.
I mean, I definitely got passes and tried to finish when I wasn't expecting to get the ball. So now it's okay, every cut I have, every cut I make, every fast break I run, I have a real opportunity to get the ball, which definitely took me a second. And I think it really just took one of those to really get my head around oh, she's all the way down at the other end of the floor and she could still make the pass to me down at the block at this end. So, it's been awesome.
What Clark brought was more than star power. It was a basketball brain wired on fast forward. She read defenses like a veteran quarterback, threading passes into windows that teammates didn't even know existed. For Hull, that was a revelation. Suddenly, she was wide open, finding herself in scoring positions she'd never had before. "She's making passes I didn't think were possible," Hull admitted. Clark's gravity pulled defenders like a magnet, and her vision carved up defenses to free her teammates. The Fever's offense was no longer stuck in the mud. It was humming.
It's so fun to be able to know that you're not just cutting to cut, knowing that you're cutting with the possibility of actually making a really cool play. So that makes it that much more worthwhile.
Clark's fire was contagious. Her competitiveness spread through the roster like wildfire. Players who once doubted their ceiling now felt like they could go toe-to-toe with anyone. The rookie didn't just bring buckets, she brought belief. And for Hull, that was everything. Clark's maturity and leadership landed instantly with the team, elevating both morale and performance in one swoop.
She sees the game at a bigger scale, obviously with the platform that she's created for herself, and then that's transitioned to the game. It's huge. And I think for me, especially as a point guard and as someone that's delivering a lot of the passes that lead to shots, if I miss, she's definitely going to say, you got the next one. I can count on her for keeping me confident and positive. So yeah, I think that shows the player that she is and the leader she is as a point guard.
And soon, the results followed. The Fever started to find their rhythm, evolving into a cohesive, dangerous offense. Hull herself admitted, "The game becomes so much more fun when you know you're cutting with a real chance to make a play." Clark gave her that chance. She wasn't just a star, she was a game changer who altered the trajectory of teammates like Hull in real time. But was this jolt of energy enough to turn Indiana's season around? That remained the question, and the answer would take shape in the grind of the coming weeks.
It's really awesome to get to know her as well because, she's a great person, but you have all these expectations put on her and our team has put on her and fans have put on her. So to see her kind of be so mature in that transition, it's been really awesome. And I'm just really proud to, have her on the team, and it's been exciting.
What stood out is that the shift didn't happen under bright lights in front of cameras. It happened behind closed doors in practice. Those sessions, Hull explained, became battles, not drills. Scrimmages turned into wars because Clark demanded it. If a set broke down, Clark pushed them to fix it on the spot. No excuses, no shortcuts. Her competitiveness raised the bar, and the rest of the roster had to rise with it. Coaches saw the change too. Practices that once dragged suddenly had teeth, and from that fight, a true team identity began to form.
The Indiana Fever had a history-making year. What was that like for you to be a part of that?
I'm really grateful for the opportunity to not only play in the WNBA, but to be on a team like the Indiana Fever. I've seen so much growth, not only on the team side, how we're performing on the court, but also the growth in fans. On the road, it felt like home games. We're playing in sold-out arenas that we have not played in the last 2 years before that. So, it's just really exciting.
For Hull, This transformation was more than a team story. It was deeply personal.
All of it comes down to trusting the process, and part of that process is making sure that the work's getting done.
Hull threw herself into sharpening the finer details of her game, dialing in her cuts and chasing consistency with her jumper. During the Olympic break, we had a full month of practice, she explained. Seeing those shooting percentages climb gave me the belief I needed. That work in the dark paid off in the light. By the time the second half of the season rolled around, Hull wasn't just another body off the bench. She had carved out a central role in Indiana's offense.
I think one thing that our coaches did during that break, I mean, we had a full month of practice pretty much during the Olympic break, and they would put up every day after practice our shooting percentages from 2s and 3s during drills, during scrimmages, during everything. And I think that helped me because, some people would probably like, it's so annoying, whatever, but I personally liked it.
And none of it happens without Caitlin Clark's presence. Clark's ability to warp defenses was like giving Hull an open runway. Kelsey and Caitlin attract so much attention, Hull said. That frees players like me to cut and find openings. And those openings started translating into buckets. Hull's percentages spiked, her confidence surged, and she began making critical plays in high-pressure moments. Suddenly, Indiana wasn't stumbling. It was surging.
Numbers don't lie, unfortunately, and they're very drastic. My first 2 years, I was just so upset because I was putting in so much work, and my shooting percentages, I would granted get like 1 or 2 at the max, 3s a game. So it's hard to be super efficient when the pressure is really on for those couple shots. But the numbers don't lie. So it really allows you to look at improvements and really shoot for goals and keep yourself like accountable.
As the Fever stacked wins, the chemistry became impossible to ignore. We never turned on each other, Hull shared. That unity, that mindset, that's what pulled us through the tough stretches. Fans recognized it too. Arenas that once looked half empty were suddenly packed wall to wall, and social media lit up with clips, praise, and rallying cries for this new-look Fever squad. Hull described the adrenaline of home games. Playing in front of a sold-out crowd gave us a type of energy we hadn't felt in years. It's hard to put into words how much it meant. Indianapolis, once desperate for a winner, was buzzing again.
All of these people were supporting me this whole time, and I didn't know that they were supporting me until that moment. So like, you kind of forget that there's these people behind the scenes until they come out of the woodwork and say like, I've been following along this whole time. Like, I'm so proud of you. And that just feels so good to know that there's, such a community behind everybody on our team, even when you don't hear it every day.
This was bigger than a comeback story. It was a statement. With Clark orchestrating and Hull blossoming, the Fever weren't just chasing a playoff berth, they were rewriting the ceiling of what this franchise could be. The only question left was, how far could this group go? And how long could they keep this chemistry alive under growing expectations?
And you and Erica Wheeler started swapping outfits. So where did that idea come from?
Our styles are so drastically different. So we were just joking, like, I wonder what it would look like if you could pull it off. And the first outfit was something so outside of what I would have ever picked out of my closet. And I'm like, that's not going to look good on me. I'm like, all right, let's try. So then I tried it on and everyone was like, you pull it off, you pull it off. So then it just became part of the pregame tradition. And it's a really fun, lighthearted way to just, get us in the mood to play.
Off the floor, the Fever's rise was just as dramatic. Players like Hull suddenly found themselves living a new reality. Quick errands in Indianapolis turned into impromptu autograph sessions. The faces that had been anonymous in the city were now household names. It was thrilling, but also overwhelming.
Walking through the grocery store in Indianapolis and trying to just go get some groceries and someone fist bumps me and says, "Go Fever." That's just a really cool environment, and it shows, the dedication of the fans and the fandom in the city. So that part's been awesome.
Fame, as Hull learned, is a double-edged sword. Every game came with online breakdowns. Every loss came with a wave of noise, and every win brought its own new pressures.
Pros, it's pretty obvious. We have people filling the stands. We have people cheering. We have people so excited for the individual success of the teams, but also the league as well as players. So there's so many more eyes on the game.
Social media became both a blessing and a burden. Hull admitted that while the constant feedback could fuel motivation, it also tested her resolve. After losses, scrolling through comments was a reminder of just how heavy the spotlight had become. It's part of the job, but it's not easy, she admitted, opening a window into the emotional toll of stardom.
It's hard. Like, it's easy to say, like, yeah, don't read it, but everybody does a little bit. And I think it's having like that support system to help keep you on track.
Through it all, the Fever leaned on each other. Their locker room became more than just a place to strategize. It became a sanctuary, a space where the focus stayed on growth, resilience, and camaraderie rather than the endless chatter outside. This culture, built on accountability and genuine trust, gave the team the foundation it needed to thrive in a season that tested everyone. They weren't just surviving the spotlight, they were learning how to own it.
The biggest thing is finding people to kind of get you out of that cycle and get you to thinking about the positive things you did, even though a lot of times people online aren't talking about the positive things.
The story of the Indiana Fever is remarkable. From a disastrous franchise to one of the most talked about teams in basketball, they proved that resilience and unity can flip an entire narrative. Lexie Hull's personal resurgence embodied that lesson. Her patience, her grind, her ability to seize her moment, all of it helped fuel Indiana's turnaround. But she's the first to admit, Caitlin Clark was the catalyst. She's not just a star player, she's a force who makes everyone around her better, Hull said. And that's the truth. Clark lifted the entire franchise on and off the floor.
The fact that people are talking about the WNBA, people are tuning in to our games, that's what we want to hear, and that's only going to get us farther as we go on.
Indiana's rise wasn't only about wins, it was about identity. Sold-out crowds, an energized fan base, and a team culture that valued accountability over excuses set the stage for long-term success. Hull put it perfectly. We're not just playing for ourselves, we're playing for something bigger. Looking forward, with Clark leading, Hull thriving, and talents like Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell ready to dominate, the Fever aren't just contenders anymore. They're a powerhouse in the making.
I think it's moving in a good direction. I think that it's because it's more competitive and there's more eyes on it. The pool of coaches that we can choose from, I think, will only get bigger and bigger. I think we're going to have great coaches coming up, and just excited to see, what those eras look like. Like, it's unpredictable at this point, but excited to, talk about it in a year from now.
But make no mistake, this is only the beginning. The Fever have shown they can weather adversity and build momentum. The only question left is, can they now take the leap from being contenders to joining the WNBA elite? Only time will answer that. So what do you think? Are the Fever ready to cement themselves as one of the league's great teams? Show your support for Lexie down in the comments below by commenting Lexie Show. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.